Perry. You've probably not heard of me, but I thought I'd have a few words to those people, delegates that are attending the Copenhagen conference, because I think that I'm as qualified as any scientist or anybody to talk about Copenhagen or the environment indeed. Why, you may ask? Well, I was born in 1937, and in 1939, 2 years later, the war broke out. Now, I was whisked off to Scotland. My dad was a Seaforth Highlander, and we were sent to Fort George in the real wild Highlands, and I got to love the wild countryside. I used to run around in the woods and the Golden Commons, we called it, watching hare and red deer, even the occasional wildcat. They never seemed to be afraid of me because I was a little kid. As soon as an adult walked there, they used to run away, but I used to have a way with the animals for some reason or other. But for some strange reason, by the time I was about 3 years old, I was only there for a while, we were whisked back to Walthamstow. Guess when? Right in the middle of the Blitz. And so there was me, this 3-year-old, from the idyllic nature in Scotland, to bombs dropping, dogfights in the air, doodlebugs coming over, and in fact we had a few near misses where we actually thought we'd had it, you know, doodlebugs coming over. And I thought to myself, even at that age, 3 coming on for 4, I thought to myself, why are we doing this? Why are people doing this to each other? They're not only killing themselves, but they're killing all the animals and wildlife, the plants and everything that I knew as a little tiny kid in Scotland. I thought, why are they doing this to themselves and to everything else? And I thought, man's destroying the whole planet. Why is he doing it? And I thought to myself, who's the kid here, me or them? I never spoke much when I was a little kid because I was too busy thinking, but we finally get sent back to Scotland again, and the last end of the war, when the V2s came over, and in a farm, and then we come back to Walthamstow again. And then I noticed the bomb sites, and me and my cousins and that, we used to clamber over the bomb sites, but I realised that whatever damage we'd done, nature always tried to heal it. You'd see plants suddenly growing on the bomb sites, you know. I used to add to it sometimes with little seeds I used to get hold of and grow my own plants and vegetables and things in the bomb sites. So do my cousins and a lot of my friends. But the point is that I thought to myself, nature is going to try to fight back, but how long will it take before they actually achieve that? Okay, so the war was over, and I went back to school. So I hardly had any schooling, obviously, during this time. Either my mum kept me away from school because of the Blitz when I was in Walthamstow, or very often we couldn't get to school in Scotland because of the snow. We told never to go to school when it was snowing. It was about 5 miles to get to school. So, but anyway, by the time I was 10, 11, I started up my own school comic, which I used to draw on exercise paper, and I used to bring this out regularly every Tuesday from the time I was 10 until I was 15 and left school. And it was called the Comic Capers Weekly, or the KK as it was affectionately known. And I used to get, there's a wildcat, a drawing of a wildcat there. I was always good at drawing and making up stories. And in this story here, it was about Ozzy and Willie, who were in the future, and they actually, it starts raining, and Ozzy here, he says to Peter Liniger, who was the character in it, he said, hey Peter, he said, quick, we've got to get in from the rain, he said, because as the rain comes down from the sky, it brings all the pollution and the acid from the sky, and it could kill us. So we'll have to get into this electric car, and there they go off on the little electric car, which was well ahead of its time. That was drawn in 1950, actually. Well, eventually, in the late 70s, early 80s, that's when they discovered acid rain. And I was predicting that when I was about 11 or 12. But I don't know why, but I always knew that there were things were happening that no one ever told me about. I was never a scientist, but I just knew instinctively that we were doing something wrong with the environment. And then later on I went to do other things and spoke out even more. Okay, so then we went from the 50s, obviously I left school, went in the RAF, and still I was talking about, to anyone who was listening, about what damage we're doing to the world. I became a nurse, so I didn't have to fight in the Air Force actually, because I had to go in anyway. But I then got married to my sweetheart from the RAF, and I became a gardener, and I worked at Offaly, and I started writing for the Gardener's Chronicle, Garden News, all the big gardeners' journals of the time. And not only did I used to design the front covers and do my own illustrations, but I started writing about wildlife sanctuaries, the need to have wildlife sanctuaries, working without pollutants, without I never believed in using insecticides or herbicides, anything like that. I thought all these things are man-made poisons and they had no right in going into the ground or into the atmosphere, so I refused to use them. I used to get, Offaly, where I worked here, I used to get my second in command, my under gardener, to bring in ladybirds so that we could put them in the greenhouse. This was in the early 60s. So that they would then eat greenfly and so on, right, so we didn't have to use any chemicals in there at all. And then later on, in the 70s and 80s, I started doing my own magazines again, and I produced a little character called Walter Meadows, and there he is, and he was an old countryman, and he was always going on about how we're polluting the earth and damaging, and how all the countryside is being taken up and new towns being built and so on. I live in one now, unfortunately, and it's still getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're eating away the countryside. So, and since then, of course, I've gone on to the LA21, which led to all the recycling and everything. I've been into all sorts of committees. Most of them bore me to tears, because to me, a committee, a horse is a camel is a horse invented by a committee, because they never get it right. You know, they're too busy arguing and trying to get one over at each other. That's why I've always tried to work on my own. But there you see, I've been going on about this since I was 8 years old, and now all you politicians, heads of state, delegates that are there at Copenhagen, this is your last chance to finally do something about it. I've been trying to tell you since the 40s. Suddenly you all woke up in the 80s and you're all claiming, oh yeah, we're the experts on this. No, you're not. The Earth itself is the expert, and you owe it to Mother Earth to do it right. Get it right this time, okay? Now, before I go, okay, now, you're going to say, oh yeah, here he is selling his books now. Yeah? No, I'm not like that. I did write these, originally started writing these in the late 70s, early 80s. This Garden Earth, which tells the story of how mankind has screwed the planet up, or is screwing the planet up. This, The Vandals in the Garden, is exactly that. Mankind are the Vandals. We're like cancer on the earth, and if we don't mend our ways, we're going to, you know, we're going to pay for it, and so is the earth. But these books are available, but I am not. I paid for these myself to get them published. That's what I think. And I don't really want to make any money out of this. If I can just, I probably won't even get the money back that I paid out to get them published. But these are my books. If you read them, it tells you exactly as it is. There's no bull, no nothing, no crap. This tells you exactly what we are doing. And I don't want to make any money out of it. Unlike those politicians, unlike those bankers, I'm doing this for the earth. And all you people in Copenhagen, I hope you are too. Put your pride away, put your checkbook away, forget your bank balance, think of the ecology rather than the economy. Thank you, I'll leave you with that thought.